Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to be looking at the Neurology of Choice, a child's guide to reward. We're unpacking how taking really high-level brain science and breaking it down into a tiny, bite-sized quiz for kids actually reveals a whole lot about how our own minds work.
So to get us started, I want to throw this question your way. What happens when you make a good choice? Seriously, take a second. Pause and think about it. Like when you decide to grab a healthy lunch instead of junk food, or when you finally finish that project instead of endlessly scrolling on your phone. What is actually happening up there in your head? Go ahead and lock your answer in mentally. It kind of sounds like a simple, maybe even philosophical question, right? But as we're about to see, the answer is grounded firmly in biology.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between the options we're giving these young learners. On one hand, we've got option A, your brain sends a happy signal. And on the flip side, option B, your brain goes to sleep. It presents this brilliant, instantly understandable binary for a kid. It literally pits a state of positive, active neurological engagement against just total inactivity. So this isn't just a simple test. It's framing behavior in a way that perfectly illustrates the concept of cause and effect in our biology. It forces the learner to recognize that, hey, their choices have a direct physical reaction inside their own head. Let's look at the underlying science driving those options. The source text defines the neurology of choice as how the human brain reacts and processes neurological effects when an individual selects a beneficial course of action. Basically, when we talk about making a good choice, we aren't just talking about abstract morality or having good discipline. We are talking about a physical reality. It's an active chemical process that kicks off the exact moment you pick an action that benefits you. Behind the scenes of that seemingly simple, everyday decision is this incredibly complex network of neurons, all firing away, just waiting to respond to the path you choose. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates why this interactive lesson is so incredibly effective. I mean, rather than overwhelming children with heavy jargon about dopamine pathways or synapses or the prefrontal cortex, which, let's face it, would probably put anyone to sleep, it utilizes a simple multiple choice format. This super engaging tool teaches children basic brain functions by drawing a direct, easy-to-understand line between their actions, like making healthy choices, and the mental satisfaction that follows. It takes abstract behavioral consequences and turns them into a concrete, interactive learning experience that actually sticks with them, empowering them to understand their own minds. Let's move to and see how this builds into a precise behavioral loop. As outlined in the source document, there's a really distinct three-step process at play here, clearly mapped out for the learner. Step 1, you select a beneficial course of action. Step 2, that specific action triggers a reward signal in the human brain. The brain reacts. It absolutely doesn't just go to sleep or enter some inactive state like that incorrect quiz option suggested. And finally, step 3, you achieve mental satisfaction. This loop right here is the fundamental engine of human motivation. It's elegantly simplified here for a child's understanding, sure, but it is just as relevant to every single one of us. Which brings us right back to the grand reveal of our interactive assessment. Reading straight from the speaker notes of the source material, the instructor guides the kids with amazing energy. Time for a quiz. What happens when you make a good choice? And then there's a pause. That's right. The answer is A. It's highly validating, right? It confirms to the young learner that making that good choice absolutely sparks that crucial happy signal in their mind. And that pause built into the lesson plan is totally deliberate, making sure the child actually makes the connection themselves before the big reveal.
So the crucial point is this direct translation. That child-friendly concept of a happy signal is exactly the same thing as the scientific reward signal we defined earlier. The educational material successfully takes a pretty complex neurological effect and frames it in a way that intimately resonates with a young learner's lived experience of mental satisfaction. It empowers them to see that they actually have agency over their own brain chemistry simply through the everyday choices they make. They aren't just behaving well because they're told to, they are actively feeding their brain what it needs to thrive.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Well, a question, really, that extends far beyond the childhood classroom. How does understanding your brain's simple reward signal change the way you view your own daily choices and behavioral consequences? I mean, think about it. If a child can learn to associate a beneficial action with a biological happy signal, how might we as adult learners use that exact same fundamental biology to drive our own habits, our productivity, and our ultimate satisfaction? The neurology remains exactly the same. Keep that powerful loop in mind the next time you're faced with a choice today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning,